You're listening to the Telltale channel. Don't forget to check me out on all social media: Patreon, Twitter, Teespring, and Etsy. All links can be found in the description or on my website, telltaleatheist.com. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. I just realized... Okay, so let me just tell you guys what we're going to be talking about tonight. We are going to be talking about Kanye West. He has made a complete fool of himself yet again, and I am here for every second of it. He's come out as a full-blown Nazi. I'm not talking like, you know what? Hang on. Let me just fix my thing here. 1 second. Okay, my air conditioner turned off. I'm going to have to clap again when it turns on again so that I can capture the audio and cut it out later. Okay, I should be good. Sorry, I just I usually have this tech stuff done before I get into this, but I just need to do that little thing. Okay, let's talk about Kanye. I'm sure most people here are familiar with Kanye West, right? He's one of the more famous music artists in the world, I would say, or at the very least in the United States. If you haven't heard up to this point, Kanye officially came out as a full-blown Nazi. I'm not using that term hyperbolically or lightly. I mean, the guy says that he loves Hitler. Now, he's been called on that by a few people on the right because most of them prefer to dance around antisemitism, or they prefer to use other groups as their scapegoats for the reason why everything everything is going wrong in the world. But Kanye absolutely refuses to accept that as an answer. If you don't agree with him that Jews are the source of all of your problems, then you are the problem, and he doesn't want anything to do with you. Now, if you don't get involved in like the political side of Twitter very often, the political side of YouTube very often, you may not be familiar with the guy that's on screen right now. This is Tim Pool. Dude looks like he has cat ears because of the way he's sitting in front of this guitar, but as far as I know, they're not cat ears. He's always wearing a beanie, always, and it turns out it's because he's bald under there. No joke. There's a video of somebody pulling the beanie off. For the record, I think that was wrong, but, now we know he's bald under there. So anyway, or mostly bald. Anyways, he goes on Tim Pool's podcast, Kanye does, and Tim Pool is pretty far right. Pretends to be a disaffected liberal when he's really just a standard Republican who attracts a far-right audience in large part. So he goes on Tim Pool's podcast, and Tim Pool intends to push back against Kanye's anti-Semitism, okay? It does not go as Tim Pool planned it would. It doesn't go well at all. So let's watch it. Let's watch Kanye make a complete fool of himself. I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't heard about this yet. I just covered a thing where Steven Crowder talked about this on my Telltale Unfiltered YouTube channel. And it just released. It released just in the past week or something. So go check it out on Telltale Unfiltered if you're interested, if you haven't seen that already. Without further ado, why don't we listen to Tim Pool give the lightest pushback to a full-blown Nazi, Kanye West, and see what he has to say for himself. Hang on, I just want to make sure everything's working right. Okay, cool. And 1 second. And while we listen, we're going to play some Breath of the Wild.
Thanksgiving, you were with your...
Let me fix it, sorry. Okay, cool. Let's do it. Owen, you're my favorite. Keep it up. I appreciate that, Fisty Ann. The Gay Agenda, thank you for becoming a member. And Brian Klude, thank you for becoming a member.
I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. You were with...
Oh, let me fix the audio. Testing,
families
testing,
or loved ones,
1,
or at
2,
least
3, testing,
relax and enjoy
testing,
yourself.
1, 2,
Over the past
3,
week, there was
testing, testing. Okay, that should be roughly equal, right? I think that's
particularly big
test, test, test,
news
test,
story that
test, test.
resulted.
Okay, maybe up a little bit. And let me capture my audio now that my air turned on. Turn off that, and I captured audio at 4:30. Wow, there's a siren outside going nuts. Audio correction. All right, cool. Let's get into it without further ado. While we play some Breath of the Wild.
In a continued news cycle, which is now going on for over a week, which is in many ways unheard of. But right now, because Donald Trump went to dinner with Ye and Nick Fuentes, among others.
If you're unfamiliar with Ye, Kanye is going by Ye right now. He changed his name legally to Ye. I suspect that it may be an attempt to protect his brand. It's, convenient that he changed it right before he started the antisemitism stuff. Even if that's not why he did it, switching to a name like Ye, switching to a totally different name, will act as a protection to his brand. So I'm not using his name. I'm using his brand, Kanye. I'm going to be calling him Kanye. I have completely and totally 100% lost all respect for this guy. All respect. And you'll see why soon.
He is now being denounced by Mike Pence, several Republican senators.
Rightly.
And for whatever reason, this story, for many reasons I suppose people have made, this story has persisted till today. And we are able to actually sit down with several of the individuals involved in that story, notably Ye, Nick Fuentes, and Melinopolis, of course, who made the dinner happen. It's my understanding. Or at least got
I had the dinner invite before I met Milo.
Okay, my bad. There you go. So we're gonna jump right into this story.
I just overcomplicated it.
Absolutely. So we're gonna start with that. And there's a lot we want to talk about. And you know what, man? This is a very big story. A lot of people have questions about, what were Trump's intentions, why were certain people invited, and Trump, of course, has issued statements. So a lot of people want to know where he stands, and more importantly, what happened there and why. And there's also the questions about what Ye 24 means, and I'll keep that a little bit vague so that they can answer to that.
No joke. Kanye West is running for president in 2024. And I don't remember what he was on. Maybe Tucker Carlson or something. Kanye went on there not too long ago and said something about he is convinced that he will be president in his lifetime. After everything that Kanye has said and done in the past year, honestly, but particularly the past month, I doubt it. I deeply, to the bottom of my heart, doubt that he will ever be president. And if he is president, after the things that he's said about Jews, I'm 100% sure that he fully intends to implement a new Holocaust, just based on what he's said. And I am getting every Jewish person I know and myself out immediately if he ever does reach that level.
And speak more to that. And then, of course, we're going to get into a lot of different issues. However, head over to timcast.com and become a member. We're going to have a members-only uncensored show, which will probably get a bit more in-depth on a lot of other issues. I'll just leave it at that. Timcast.com, become a member, support our work, and we'll talk about more there. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us, as I mentioned.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Tim Pool's format, he basically covers news stories with guests. He gets guests on his show to talk about news stories, and that was the original intent here with Kanye. He wanted to talk about the dinner that Kanye West had with Trump recently. That's the news story he was going to hit, right? We'll watch how this goes. It doesn't go as planned.
Is we have Ye himself. Would you like to introduce yourself, good sir?
You did it.
There you go. I think everybody knows who you are. And which of you gentlemen would like to introduce yourself?
Nicholas, please.
Hi, yeah, I'm Nick Fuentes. First time here on the Timcast. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So I cover Nick Fuentes pretty frequently on my Fireside Chat channel. He is a deeply disturbed human being. It's kind of interesting to me that Fuentes has decided to hang out with Kanye West or vice versa, because Fuentes has actually said that we should be sending the military into black ghettos to take care of them, quote unquote. That not for nothing. That is exactly what Hitler did in 1930s, late 1930s Germany, before the Holocaust happened in full. It was, on its way there. So anyways, it's weird to me that Fuentes and Kanye West are hanging out together when Fuentes holds views like this. I just don't understand how Kanye could have any self-respect and hang out with somebody who hates the black community as much as Fuentes does. He throws the N-word around like it's nothing. Seriously, it really confuses the hell out of me.
Absolutely. What do you do?
Oh, I'm a live streamer. I do a show called America First on cozy.tv.
All right. And of course, Milo, you were here a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I'm your best ever guest.
So we've been told that the episode with you was one of the best podcasts ever. People really enjoyed hearing it.
Milo Yiannopoulos is, I don't know how else to say it. He's a scam artist, and he likes recording conversations with other political operatives and releasing them at inopportune times, when he loses favor with these people or when there's a falling out or whatever. So not a great person at all.
I think it's accurate.
Plus, he has deeply disturbing beliefs, ideals, and views about all kinds of stuff, but I'm not even going to bother with him.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
Thanks for coming back.
Thanks. I was wondering how I was going to make it even more extraordinary the second time I visited, but I think I might have pulled it off.
Luke's here.
Total Sausage Fest tonight. Welcome. My name is Okadowski of wearechange.org. Today I'm wearing my Didn't Epstein himself t-shirt, which you could get.
I don't know who this guy is, but he's really annoying. Just in the first 5 seconds he's talking, he's driving me nuts. People probably say that about my voice, so who am I to talk? I don't know. But this guy is just really annoying, just hearing the words coming out of his mouth.
On thebestpoliticalshirts.com, and I think we should be using that word a little bit more, just like, this YouTube channel didn't Epstein itself, and if this YouTube channel is Epsteined, we will be streaming on Twitter. So yeah, I started a t-shirt company after YouTube demonetized me, so thebestpoliticalshirts.com, because you guys buy it, that's why I'm here. Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, Serge.
And I am Serge.com. Pleasure, guys.
All right. And I'll just pull up this story from The Hill, which is from earlier today, 5 p.m. Pence says Trump should apologize. It's wrong to give anti-Semite a seat at the table.
Absolutely. This isn't a little thing like, oh, well, he has some backward ideas on whatever. No, I mean, these people, Nick Fuentes, Kanye West, are full-blown, not even Holocaust deniers. They are Holocaust endorsers. That's what they want. They think that Hitler didn't go far enough. And if you're watching this a few days after it releases, check my main channel for the video that came out about Kanye, because I just released a video about it in early December 2022. If you're watching this live, give it some time. In a few days, it'll be coming out. I go through the whole thing, exactly why it's so perverse and deranged and evil what Kanye has said, and I go into exactly what he says in detail. But anyway, let's keep listening.
Of course, is related to a dinner that happened, and I was wrong a little on the details. So a dinner happened. Nick, you were there. Ye, you were there. I just want to start off by, how did this dinner come to happen, and what happened?
I was talking to Trump for about a month. We had scheduled the dinner in October, and then he announced for president. He pushed the dinner back to November. And I've been pulling together a campaign, and after I put up the DEF CON tweet, a bunch of people that have been canceled, like Alex Jones, I started getting in contact with other people that were now on the inside of the matrix. And
inside of the matrix, what the hell does that even mean?
Alex Jones, producer, said that Milo wanted to contact me, and here we are.
So that's how you guys got in contact.
Yeah, originally, and then I've suggested that we bring in Nicholas as a enormous extra brain firepower that he is. It's most extraordinarily brilliant.
He's a neo-Nazi, and he's very good. I mean, neo-Nazi probably isn't even the right word. He's just a straight-up Nazi. Like I said, this guy believes that Hitler did not go far enough. He wanted him to go further. So neo-Nazi, there's no reason to hedge or qualify. He's just a straight up Nazi. So anyway, he's very good at dog whistling. He's very good at veiling his true intent. So yeah, if you call that brain power, I suppose I wouldn't. I don't think he's particularly smart. I think he's just very good at hiding his true intent and has absolutely horrific beliefs and views, like deeply disturbing stuff, honestly.
He's a political commentator of his generation, and he's been treated just about as badly as anybody, so I thought he deserved to be in the room too. And yeah, that's pretty much how we got together.
So I have some questions about that, but we'll get through the dinner portion of, how exactly this happened, what went down. So this is how you get in contact, the three of you. How is it that Nick ends up invited to this dinner, and what happened?
Well, he was rolling with me. I was impressed with Nick, and I was like, just come to the dinner. And
To be impressed with somebody who says the N-word regularly and like derogatorily against a group of people because he hates that group of people. To be impressed with his brain power or impressed with him or whatever for whatever reason is just depraved, dude. This guy, they're calling him Yadoff now because he's a full-blown avowed Nazi, claims the title of Nazi, points to himself, says, I am a Nazi. Verbatim, that's what he said. It's just, my God, is it crazy.
we had Karen Giorno pick us up from the airport. And there was a lot of back and forth. There's another gentleman named Jamar Montgomery that was with us. He's an engineer at Boeing, and
I'm telling him we should raise everyone's volume.
Okay, cool. And we sat there, and it was like when Trump came in, I said, do you want to sit alone? He's like, no, bring your friends in. So a big thing is like Trump had no idea who Nick Fuentes was. But this whole, I just got to go right to the heart of this anti-Semite claim that's happening.
Okay, so now what Kanye is doing is breaking out of the standard format that Tim Pool has set up. This is how Tim Pool does things. He talks about the news with people. Kanye is breaking out of it and just bringing up the anti-Semitism stuff, which is what Tim Pool wanted to talk about later. He didn't want to bring all of that up right now, but okay.
This is something, if you read the definition, it says you can't claim that there's multiple people inside of banks or in media that are all Jewish or you're anti-Semitic.
What? Okay, let's look up the definition. What is the definition of anti-Semitism? Hostility to or prejudice against Jewish people. I don't see anything about big banks or any of that stuff. There is a historical reason for why there are a lot of Jewish people in banks. Let me tell you why it is. Jews have historically been... Okay, so there have been Jews in pretty much every country throughout history, at least some, in every single country throughout history. But they've been the minority group in those countries since day one, right? And as we've seen with the black community, as we've seen with immigrants, when you're dealing with a minority group, the popular thing to do is to demonize them and blame them for all of your problems. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard Trump talk about immigrants nonstop. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, so on and so forth. That is kind of the fascist way. That is the authoritarian, extremist way, to blame a group for all of your problems and claim that you will deal with that group. And that's kind of how it's been for 1,000 years, particularly through the Middle Ages. Jews were heavily targeted in the Middle Ages. There were all kinds of crazy claims about Jews being like, they would practice black magic, and they were the reason why the Black Plague even appeared in the first place, and all kinds of stuff. There were nonstop claims about them because they were isolated in their communities, and they particularly for the Black Plague, the reason that they were blamed for that is because they had like different rituals about how to treat dead bodies and stuff that the rest of, say, the Christian world didn't have. And that cut down on the amount or on the transmissibility of the Black Plague for the Jewish communities nearby. Christians see that the Jews are not suffering as badly from the Black Plague as they were, and they think, they sent it to us. Oh my God, they're the culprits. And they were persecuted for that. They believe they practiced black magic on people, and that is what brought this plague down upon them, and all kinds of other stuff. That is one of the reasons why Jews were so hated in the Middle Ages. There were many. But, you know, I'm not going to go into it too deep, but basically in 1902, there was a document produced by the Russian secret police called The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I've talked about it a few times on my channel, but it was basically a compilation of every Jewish conspiracy theory out there about them drinking children's blood to stay young forever, and it sounded like QAnon. That's where QAnon got it. And all kinds of other stuff. There were a bunch of claims made in this document. And then the KGB passed this document around the Middle East all through the 20th century. Hitler used it to demonize the Jews in World War II. That's why they've been the center of attention, or that's why they've been hated and feared and attacked throughout world history. Let me fix my camera. Hang on. Now, as far as them being like the leaders of big banks or whatever, there's a reason for that one too. The reason is because the Catholic Church had rules about money lending. You weren't allowed to earn interest on loans, and Jews did not have that rule in their religion. So they started out by loaning money to people, and then eventually down the line, they were hired to work within these banks and stuff, because these banks, though owned by Catholics or Christians more generally, weren't breaking any rules technically if it was a Jew loaning the money to the people, right? The Jews are allowed, they're the ones that'll go to hell for loaning the money to people, as long as the Catholics aren't doing it. They were kind of pigeonholed into this field. They had no real choice. They were pushed out of every other, field that they could possibly do. And this is the very last option that they have. And that is why there are so many, that's why there are seemingly so many Jews in big banks. It doesn't mean that there's some cabal, which, by the way, the word cabal comes from the word Kabbalah, which is a Jewish mystic tradition or whatever. Even the words that we use to refer to these big entities, the deep state or the Illuminati or whatever, refer to Jews. Conspiracy theorists have been demonizing Jews since day one. So anyways, the point is, Kanye has no idea what he's talking about. He just irrationally hates Jewish people. That's it. There is not some big secret group out there that runs things like puppet masters who are trying to get one over on Kanye. That's just paranoid delusion, and I choose that word very specifically, that term. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Let's keep listening.
And that's the truth.
Okay, let me step back a few seconds here.
Or in media that are all Jewish, or you're anti-Semitic.
You can point that out. I just pointed it out. You're not anti-Semitic for pointing out that there are a lot of Jewish people in certain occupations. Like Dave Chappelle said, there are a lot of black Americans in Ferguson, Missouri, but that doesn't mean they run the place.
And that's the truth. It's the truth. What are we talking about? And
Elaborate. What do you mean? You mean?
I'm saying I've been labeled anti-Semite, right? So there's different beliefs about our bloodlines, like the documentary that Kyrie posted.
So what he's referring to here is a black Israelite claim that the current Jews that claim to be Jewish are imposters, and black Americans are actually real Jews. Not just black Americans, but they have beliefs about all different, basically any person of color is a different variation of Jewish person. You remember, I think, who was it, Jacob, that was like the father of the Jewish nation or the Israeli nation or whatever? He had 12 sons, and they made up the 12 tribes of Israel, right? You had like Levi and Judah and, you know, all of the other, Reuben, I don't remember them all. Anyways, the Black Israelites is a hate group as far as I'm concerned, and a religion that believes that, I don't know, Dominicans come from the tribe of Reuben, and Samoans come from the tribe of Judah, and, you know, that's not exact. I'm just saying that's kind of how they believe it. People who have different, like, shades of skin come from different tribes, and the people who are masquerading as Jewish people now they're just pretending. It is a deeply anti-Semitic belief in its own right. But, you know, that's like on the very bottom of my list of complaints with Kanye right now, after he straight up came out and said he loves Hitler.
And in general,
and you know what? Before I continue, I should just play that clip for you so that you have the context for what I'm talking about, where he says he loves Hitler. Because you guys, I'm assuming you haven't heard a word about Kanye so far, because there are certainly some people who haven't. Most people probably heard about this already, but I just want to give full context here. Let me find it. Hold on. Here it is. Okay. Listen to this. This is him on Alex Jones.
Seriously, I've really studied a lot of history. Plus, I had family that was there. And so, I mean, I don't think Hitler was a good guy. I get the Hugo Boss uniforms, amazing. But I mean, just because you're in love with the design, you're a designer. Can we just kind of say, like, you like the uniforms, but that's about it?
No. There's a lot of things that I love about Hitler. A lot of things. Hey, Netten, what did you think about that, Netten?
Yeah, he brought a net, like a little orange net, to this interview and calls it Netten, as in Netanyahu, which is like the current leader of Israel, obviously making fun of it. It's just, everything about it is evil and disgusting. I mean, do I even need to, like, do any further analysis on this? Like, Kanye is absolutely evil, right? I don't say that lightly. I don't like calling people that, but later on he goes on to say that he liked the Holocaust. He thought it was a good thing and he wanted to see more of it. So anyway, yeah, this is him with that stupid little net. Listen to this.
This is insane. You are an insane person.
So anyways, yeah, let's keep listening. Now you have that context. That's Kanye West, baby. That's what he's all about now. He's decided to die on this hill. So, okay.
America has been left ignorant and history has been changed. So when we start questioning things that question the indoctrination, then you immediately get, you said debanked, or what did you say happened to you? Or
Demonetized, deplatformed.
Demonized, demonetized. And what's so beautiful about this
Yeah, he doesn't know the word demonetized. I get it. He's not in social media as much, so whatever.
time is everyone got to see what's really been happening. And now we can really understand. We can see that Ron Emanuel was right next to Obama, and then Jared Kushner was right next to Trump.
Okay, two people who Kanye claims to be Jewish. I don't know Ron Emanuel. I'm unfamiliar, but I mean, I'm assuming he's Jewish based on what Kanye has said. I've learned not to trust a word out of his mouth. But this dude, no joke, has a weird obsession with Jewish people. What is going on right now? How is anybody so obsessive about any single group like this? This is nuts, dude. FYI, I know somebody who has schizophrenia. I'm not going to get into who it is or my relationship with them or whatever else, but they actually have schizoaffective disorder, this person that I know. I don't really talk to him much anymore, but schizoaffective disorder is basically schizophrenia, except it's like schizophrenia and bipolar disorder fused together. It's not just having schizophrenia and bipolar disorder simultaneously. It's a condition where they fuse. So you have a manic version and you have a depressive version of this illness. The person I know, I think, has a manic version of this. And what happens is basically they have bipolar disorder produces a sense of grandiosity, like you're the biggest, you're the best, the strongest, the smartest, everything. With schizophrenia, it produces full-blown delusional states. Like you believe that with bipolar disorder, the delusions of grandeur make you believe that you're the best at everything. You're the best singer in Kanye's case. You're the biggest, best celebrity, the smartest, whatever else. But with schizoaffective disorder, delusions of grandeur go one step further. Not only do you believe that you're the best, but you have a delusion that you are capable of building nanotech that could, make you immortal. Or you have this delusion of grandeur where you think that you could write an encryption algorithm that would compress data down to like a tenth or a thousandth of its original size, and it would be completely lossless. The delusions that you have are ones that kind of put a puff in your own petticoat, basically. That is the product of schizoaffective disorder. Not only that, but you can also have paranoid schizophrenia or paranoid delusions where you believe that somebody is out to get you. So it's not just delusions of grandeur, it's also delusions of paranoia. And I'm telling you guys, I'm not a psychologist. I have no place to diagnose, but it seems like that is what Kanye is experiencing right now. Delusions of grandeur, which we've seen from him time and time again, and paranoid delusions, where he believes that there is a cabal that's out there trying to get him, trying to trick him or hurt him or something. He's constantly on guard because he thinks that they're trying to get him. That's what it seems like to me. I don't know. I'm not the dude's doctor. I've never even looked at his medical records. And I'm not a psychologist. I wouldn't even know how to read it if I did. But from my experience with somebody who has schizoaffective disorder, that is what it looks like to me.
But so we're getting right into it, I guess, right? I was hoping to go for the news first before we got into all of this stuff. I think the issue is one way to put it is you're expounding upon a localization issue that you've witnessed, right? Let me clarify.
So Tim Pool is putting it, he's giving him a softball. He's putting it lightly and saying you're relying on anecdotal experience. That's what he's saying.
Handful of people that you see are Jewish in a certain place, and then you associate Judaism with the power, whereas I view that as not relevant to it. Yeah, you're substantially more powerful than I am, but I don't view what you're doing as an issue of black people.
Yeah, but have you ever heard the term the black vote? So it's okay to put us in one net, but it's not okay for me to put them in one net.
Well, that's interesting. It's an interesting point he's bringing up, and it's important because I can see how people would be fooled by that type of argument, so let's talk about it. Referring to the black vote is looking at demographic trends, looking at statistics. That is very different from what Kanye is doing. Statistics are not bigoted or racist or hateful inherently necessarily, but taking those statistics and assuming that a Jewish person that you meet on the street or a black person that you meet or an Asian person or whatever that you meet on the street is going to encapsulate those qualities that statistics show, that's a generalization and it's wrong. You should not boil it down to an individual, basically, is the point. It's bigoted and hateful and racist, and oftentimes leads to you being completely incorrect. Like, looking at statistics that say that, I don't know, 1 in 5 Asian women have been in a car accident in their life, and then taking that statistic. Okay, so that's a statistic. There's nothing bigoted, hateful, or racist or anything about just the existence of the statistic. Taking that statistic and using it as the pretext to believe that Asian women are bad drivers, that's racist, and you're relying on stereotypes, and it will, the vast majority of the time, lead to wrong conclusions. So what Kanye has done here is taken a statistic. There are a lot of Jews in banking or Jews in media or something like that, and has applied it to all Jews and assumed that there's some like movement out there to get one over on people, and they're trying to control. So he's taking a statistic and using it to make assumptions about people that are incorrect. That's the hang up. It's not racist to acknowledge that black people tend to vote a certain way. It is racist to assume that Jews are trying to get one over on you because there are a lot of Jewish bankers or something.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's the basis of the hypocrisy that people have been thinking about and knowing about and realizing for decades. We were all wondering how this dam was going to break. Everybody in the country was wondering, what is the root of this hypocrisy? Why can people talk about white people a certain way? Why can't they talk about that group a certain way? And
nobody has been wondering about any of this, but by framing it this way, Milo Yiannopoulos is making you feel, let me rephrase, he's making anti-Semites in the audience feel intelligent. Or making anybody who, has some predisposition to be racist to any degree about any group, he's making them feel intelligent, like they were ahead of the curve. It's like a conspiracy theorist, making claims about, just making outrageous claims, and then with absolutely no reason to believe any of this stuff, no basis to believe any of it. But time passes, and then they find out like little subsections of their belief turned out to be correct by happenstance, and suddenly they feel really intelligent and justified in the belief that they held before, even though there's absolutely no reason to believe any of this stuff at the time,
the wretched and wicked and oppressive prevailing orthodoxy of cancel culture. Well, it turned out that the one thing that was going to break the dam was the biggest star in the world, and it took the biggest star in the world to do it.
God, how do I say this in a monetizer-friendly way? Just get a little closer to Kanye's lips. Just a little bit closer. Everybody's watching and waiting for this dude to get so close that maybe your two lips will just kind of tap against each other by mistake. Who knows? That would be nice, wouldn't it?
And now the dam is broken.
So let me tell you my issue. I don't like identitarianism. You guys are familiar with what that is?
Well,
Okay, identitarianism is an actual political movement and probably not what Tim Pool thinks it is. He means identity politics. He doesn't like identity politics. That's very different from identitarianism, but okay.
Started it, and they've been visiting on us. We're trying to break it.
When I was asking you about running for president, you immediately said, well, you'd be good for the black vote.
Ooh, so it sounds like what he said a minute ago was an actual call out to Tim Pool. Again, yeah, Kanye, look, Tim Pool was wrong to assume that Kanye would be good for the black vote. He wouldn't be. Like, he's the black, okay, the black voting bloc does not usually vote Republican, not typically, by and large. It's like 70% vote Democrat, I think. I don't even know what the numbers are. Don't quote me on that. And Kanye is running as a Republican here, so he would almost certainly not be popular for the black vote or wouldn't be able to bring it in or whatever. That being said, once again, he's trying to make it seem as though, referring to a single statistic of a single group is the same as hating a group for, some inherent quality about them and some arbitrary reason.
I said, is that because I'm black? No, not just because of that. So is that, are you doing the same thing?
I didn't say that was the only reason. I said it was
No, he's not doing the same thing. I can't believe Tim Pool didn't see straight through this.
because you're personable to the common person, and
Well, I can believe he didn't see straight through it.
you probably would do well with the black vote. Absolutely.
Just because I'm black, because a lot of black people don't like me.
Of course. I think race plays a role in a lot of things. Absolutely. And I think that's for.
I think the construct of race has really been forced upon us as just something for us to be woke about and just.
Oh my God, yes, absolutely. I love it. He's 100% correct on this. Race isn't real. I don't know if anybody was aware of this. Race is pretend. Race does not exist. There are people with more melanin in their skin and less melanin in their skin. That's it. Race doesn't really exist. I love that he's pointing this out, but I find it really weird that he goes on to use race as the basis for hating a group of people, like immediately after.
Constantly talk about and use it as these like walls.
Couldn't you say the same thing about Judaism?
Well, let's look at the facts of what I'm saying, though. If you say in this neighborhood where they gerrymander, there's this amount of time. So, hey, I wasn't doing that. I was just gerrymandering the lawyers and the Hollywood executives.
Okay, he says this as though gerrymandering is acceptable. First of all, gerrymandering is unacceptable. It's wrong. And second, that's very different from hating a group of people simply because they are, this certain race or this certain religion or ethnicity or whatever. I don't know. Sexual orientation, blah, blah, blah. Very different from that. Those two things are completely different from each other, and I'm kind of blown away that Kanye doesn't see the distinctions there. Well, I'm not.
And the people at the bank that debanked me and then froze.
Oh, let me step back a little bit.
And the people at the bank that debanked.
Hang on, a little bit more.
Hey, I wasn't doing that. I was just gerrymandering the lawyers and the Hollywood executives.
He says it as if this is a good thing, like he's perfectly fine to do that.
And the people at the bank that debanked me and then froze my accounts. It's like we want to jump into protecting the idea that we can't put a net around something, right? But that's been my job as a producer, to take, a Roy Ayers sample and put a James Brown drum and put it within a 2-minute, 3-minute song. That's the way I actually think, and that's the way I talk. And now this morning I found out.
Okay, he's about to go into a big long story. We're going to hit that in a second, but think about what he just said. The complaint is he is putting a net around people. He's putting them in a box, and he's accusing them of doing, being part of some big cabal simply because of their religion and nothing more. He hates a group of people simply because they are this religion or ethnicity or whatever, this race or whatever. Jewish. It's both an ethnicity and a religion, so I don't know. It makes it a little more complicated. Anyway, he hates this group of people simply for that quality about them. That's it. Nothing more. Just because of that. And he is comparing hating a group of people for who they are. He's comparing that to making a music track. He's comparing it to, splitting something off and moving it into editing or whatever, music editing or whatever else. Does he really not see the distinction here? Is he really this dense? I can't tell if this is a real argument that he's giving.
That they were trying to put me in prison because what they.
Okay, all right. So now he's talking about them putting him in prison. Them, quote unquote. They are trying to put him in prison. This is something that a lot of people who talked about this didn't really dig too much into, but just listen to what he has to say here. They're trying to put him in prison, right?
It was, I moved $140 million into JP Morgan. And I said, I want to talk to Jamie Dimon. Like, look at me. I'm just going in naive, multi-billionaire, like maybe Jamie Dimon will let me in on some deal flow. Wrong. And I'm just like banging my.
Because he's not Jewish, he believes. Now, I don't think Jamie Dimon is Jewish. I'm not super sure, but I heard that Jamie Dimon, the head of JP Morgan Chase, I heard his wife is Jewish or something. And here is the Nazi mindset shining through. Any associations with Jewish people at all, any amount of Jewish blood in your system, any amount of Jewish family or whatever, friends or whatever it is, means that you're a sympathizer and you're in on the cabal. That is the mindset that he's found himself in, and he believes that because he's not Jewish, he's not getting deals. But think about what he just said. He was looking for deals, right? From the head of Chase Bank. And because he was treated like everybody else, he believes they're out to get him. He didn't receive special treatment from somebody specific, and he's being persecuted because he didn't receive special treatment. That's fundamentally the mindset that this guy has now. If you don't treat me better than everybody else, if you don't give me special deals, if you don't pay me extra money or whatever other thing, then it means that you're part of the cabal that's hunting me or whatever. It's a combination here, interestingly enough, of delusions of grandeur and paranoid delusions.
And it's like, I want to meet with Jamie, and I start complaining online, and then they debank me for complaining. And so I'm about to get debanked. They're like, you need to go to Trump's, the bank, AXO, whatever, you got to go. And I'm like, I've been trying to buy my own bank for the longest. And then we figured out how to get my own bank. It's like 50 million, 75 million. So I'm about to buy my own bank. But then as they're about to take the money out, here comes Adidas with a $275 million bill for marketing funds that they agreed upon. Because I said to them, hey, I'm the marketing, give me the marketing fund, which proves by the response they got when they, stole the designs and said, we're going to not call them Yeezys anymore. So this is what I was already fighting.
Wow. Okay, so Kanye signed a contract with Adidas. Adidas pays him $275 million. Kanye does not deliver on that contract. Kanye agreed to, action, to do something for that $275 million. They didn't just give it to him because they like him. He was supposed to fulfill something, and he didn't fulfill that thing, so they took that $275 million back. Wow. Anybody surprised? Huh. He's so persecuted. They didn't give him $275 million for free. How persecuted is this guy, right?
Adidas for. So I'm fighting Gap, get out of Gap, fighting Adidas, and then I deal with this little bit of noise from, Zionism from the fashion world, where they use this plant named Gabby, who's...
Okay, Zionism basically means, if you've never heard this term before, I don't know. I'll try to give a basic idea. It's if you're in favor of Israel existing as a country, or if you don't hate Jews, probably in this context, then you're a Zionist. That's generally what it means. It's more complicated than that, but for this purpose, that's a fine explanation. So the Zionists, or basically what he's saying, the Jews in the fashion industry, put this plant in front of him. They planted somebody in his life so that they could manipulate him, these crafty Jews, right?
Obviously like some kind of CIA agent, knows nothing about fashion. This is a certain thing. When someone can't dress, you know that they're not like a fashion person. They're just there as like the society, like the control that they try to use with celebrities, which has now been broken, right? Because where it broke. Okay, I want to get on like LeBron in a second, but I'm going to come back to this and just talk about this morning where...
well, I don't know how to dress. Does that mean I'm a Jew?
I'm not going to mention her name because she's a nice lady, but someone at Cohen Resnick tells me, and I tell all of my finance people, never use the term a lot, but they said, okay, you're going to have to pay a lot of taxes. And that made me feel like they're just like waiting, like we finally got him. We finally can put him in jail. And I was like, can I still run for president in jail? I found out I could. So I was like, okay, that's fine then.
Okay, so people overlooked this little clip right here. I found it absolutely fascinating personally. What he's saying is they're coming for him. They're trying to get him. They want to put him in jail. And he looked up, can I still run for president from jail? Why are they trying to put him in jail, I hear you asking? The answer is he owes a lot of money in taxes. Apparently, he hasn't paid taxes in 10 years? Ever? I don't know. I have no idea if he's ever paid taxes in his entire life. Apparently, he owes $50 million in taxes. Oh, my God. And on top of that, he owes Adidas $275 million now. He owes all kinds of money to all kinds of people. And see, this is the hole that he's dug for himself. He now believes that every one of his problems in his life is due to the Jews.
It'll be okay.
But if you were Jeffrey Epstein, they wouldn't touch your bank account. They would
Oh, dude, please just get over the Epstein stuff.
allow you to break the rules, regulations, just like J.P. Morgan and Chase did, just like Deutsche Bank did. So there is an issue to bring up with that. But when it comes to the race stuff, I think this is an important discussion to have because I think
I have to complete this thought. You guys got to.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, because I'm talking about literally finding out that they were trying to put me in prison this morning. Watch.
They are trying to put me in prison because he didn't pay his taxes. And he believes that this is an attempt to get him, quote unquote, by the Jews. The Jews are trying to get him and put him in jail for his political beliefs. Oh, sure, he didn't pay taxes, but that's not why they're really trying to put him in jail. It's really because he doesn't like Jews. Totally.
This
This morning.
yes. So not come to my house this morning, but I found out. Okay, so they put a $75 million hold on 4 of my accounts, and then they said you owe a lot of taxes. Took me like 6 hours to find out how much a lot was. They said, well, around $50 million. Now I'm going to different CFOs like, okay, so would this be tax evasion? Because
Oh, shit, dude. This guy, he says, will this be tax evasion? This dude is in a serious situation right now. How did he even discover this, that he owed this much money in taxes, $50 million? And, of course, okay, so he talked about this on the Alex Jones interview. It was 3 hours long. I have the whole thing, and I put notes on it and everything. Anyways, he says he's worth $400 million now that Adidas pulled his deal, okay? They pulled his deal after he started talking shit about Jewish people. He has $250 million in liquid cash, and he's got $400 million total. That's what he said, right? He owes $50 million in taxes, and he owes $275 million to Adidas, apparently. So basically, he has like $100 million. So he went from having how much was it? $4 billion. He went from having that much money to having maybe $100 million, maybe. That is one hell of a fall from grace. I'm having so much trouble getting this shrine. I'll come back for it later.
I'm obviously not the most financially literate person on the planet. I was just a child, basically. Like when you become famous, you stop growing at that point. I became famous at age 24, and I had handlers around. I had my mom around, different things. And
you know when else you stop growing emotionally? When you start taking drugs or you start drinking or something like that. When you're using alcohol or drugs as an emotional crutch, you stop growing emotionally. And that's why you see a lot of very, very deeply immature alcoholics or drug addicts or whatever, because they started drinking really young, 12 years old maybe, and they've never had to come up with new coping mechanisms. They've never had to figure any of this stuff out. When you start drinking or doing drugs, you stop growing emotionally. Now, how long has Kanye been drinking or smoking weed or whatever other thing? I know people who've been smoking weed and drinking since they were 10 years old. Seriously. That's not unheard of. That's actually reasonably common. Kanye West seems deeply, deeply emotionally immature. I'd be willing to bet he started pretty young.
it was always like you go from one handler to the next handler to the next handler. So now I get to actually learn how to run a company. I get to learn how to count. Really, I was like Pablo in a movie. It was like I didn't even know where to put the money, like literally making $300 million cash, but you're just like a high-priced, we're not going to use the S word just because it's like
a high-priced slave. Is that what he was going to say? He believes himself to be a slave? That is fucking disgusting, dude, that he would even compare himself like that. That is wrong right there, first of all. And second, why did he have 800 million, or what did he say? Wait, did he say $800 million in cash or 400 million? I don't know. Anyways, whatever he said, why did he have that much in cash? He should never, ever have that much in cash. Pablo Escobar is who he's referring to here. I think Pablo Escobar buried like hundreds of millions of dollars in cash because he couldn't deposit it into a bank because it was dirty money. You know, he didn't pay taxes on it. He got it through illegal means and all that stuff. So he had to bury it. He had no other choice, right? They did this in Breaking Bad too. Walter White, you know, buried all of his money. So anyways, the point is Kanye should never have been burying his money or not sure what to do with it. He should have invested it in index stocks. Literally anybody should be able to tell you that. Literally any human being on planet Earth should say you should never have $100 million in cash in the bank. It should all be like in index stocks because it appreciates in value over time. It keeps up with inflation. In 10 years, you know, $100 million won't be worth $100 million because inflation will drive it up. But if it's invested in stocks, it should keep up with inflation, hypothetically, hopefully.
To pass 80s, but it's like next year I was supposed to make $500 million in royalties, and like no one needs this amount of money. But when I would work on homeless shelters and ideas, I'd have a contractor, we won't say what race, and
just because there are Jewish people in the industry that work with you does not mean that there's some secret cabal out there trying to get you. Seriously, these are delusions of these are paranoid delusions is what we're listening to right now. Paranoid delusions.
But, you know, they'd be tearing down the contracts. It's all about, you know, position. It's not about the amount of money that you have. And, you know, to come in here, I feel like it's a setup to be like defending. I'm not going to go through another, like I'm literally going to walk the F off the show if I'm sitting up here having to, you know, talk about, you can't say that it was Jewish people that did it when every...
Okay, nobody said that he can't say that. They knew he was going to say that. But he can't possibly expect absolutely no pushback on this, right? He's running for president right now. He should be fully aware that people are going to push back against these piss poor ideas, right?
I'm not going to go through another, like I'm literally going to walk the F off the show if I'm sitting up here having to, you know, talk about, you can't say that it was Jewish people that did it when every sensible person knows that. I mean, Jon Stewart knows what happened to me and they took it too far. It was...
From my understanding, Jon Stewart addressed some of Kanye's antisemitism a while back, and he did it in a satirical, joking kind of way, but Kanye didn't take it as satire. I mean, Jon Stewart is Jewish, but Kanye thinks that Jon Stewart has his side, like that he believes that he is whatever. This guy is looking for absolutely any affirmation that he is correct on this stuff, and it's so sad, honestly.
Like American History X, like my head was on the side of the curve, and the exact people that I called out kicked my head. We found out that my trainer was a MK Ultra Canadian.
Okay, MK Ultra happened in America, not in Canada.
Intelligence.
He worked in the defense research and development in the Canadian military, essentially working on psyops in the Canadian military. This is Harley Pasternak.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, look, they tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wronged it.
He desperately needs medicine, seriously. And I don't even think that bipolar medicine would fix his problems. I really, honestly, truly don't. I think somebody misdiagnosed him. I don't think it's just bipolar. If it's even bipolar disorder. I mean, it looks like he has a lot of signs of it, but it could be schizoaffective disorder. Again, I don't know. I'm not the guy's doctor. I have no fucking clue. But if it's schizoaffective disorder, then lithium would not fix the problem. He would need Seroquel or Geodon or some type of antipsychotic to help him, work through all of these problems.
Diagnosed me, and they when I asked them how much lithium did you want to put me on exactly, it took them 4 days
Yeah, lithium is the standard prescription for bipolar disorder.
to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right?
No, they're probably not embarrassed about it. They're just worried that he's going to be researching lithium and think that it's too much or something, when he most definitely needs some kind of medicine. Desperately.
And I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, oh, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears too. I mean, look.
They would have Michael Jackson.
or worse, yeah.
Okay, wow, dude. God, it's conspiracy after conspiracy with this dude. He believes that Michael Jackson was killed now by the Jews or whatever. Is he ever going to come back to reality? I don't know. I suspect maybe he won't ever. Sadly, I think that Kanye may be stuck in this absolute insane asylum of a world forever. All we can do is cut his access to major platforms so that he can't spread his hatred and bigotry and vile, evil, disgusting messages. Like, for example, that the Nazis did not go far enough. It doesn't get more disgusting than that, honestly.
So
Look at what they did. Look at what they did to Britney. When she went in, she was tired, she was exhausted, she was in a bad way. But 10 years of that medication wrecked her brain. You can see it now. You can see there's.
Okay, he's not helping anything. He's making this worse. He is convincing Kanye not to take medicine when it is very obvious to literally every human being watching that is the one thing that Kanye needs right now is medicine. Desperately.
Not much of her left.
you mentioned Pasternak was the name?
Yes, Harley Pasternak. That's the text message that you
Yes.
posted that we were talking about before.
That's the lobotomy.
let me-
right?
Yeah.
Before the show, obviously, I'm getting a bunch of messages from people. People are hitting me up, and they're like, you shouldn't host them. They're anti-Semitic. They're white supremacists. They're racist.
Okay, so what Tim Pool just said right there, I suspect, I'll give you a little spoiler. If you haven't seen this, Kanye West walks right off the show. He stands up and walks out. I suspect that the reason that he did that is because of what Tim Pool said right there, just now. I don't know this for a fact, but just based on what other things Kanye has talked about in other recent interviews, I think that's it right there. He thinks that Kanye thinks that Tim Pool got a call from the cabal, the Jews, telling him not to platform him, and he chose to anyways. And now that Kanye is aware that Tim Pool has a direct line to the cabal like that, he's too afraid to. He doesn't want anything to do with like any of the whatever. That's my suspicion, but I don't know.
I do find it funny or weird or whatever that, Nick, they call you a white supremacist. You're here working with or for.
Nick is a white supremacist. I have video of Nick saying that he wants to send the military in to like black ghettos to open fire. It does, and he argues for an ethno-state, a white ethno-state. I don't know how it gets more white supremacist than that, honestly. It doesn't. Just because he's standing there with a black person who is repeating his ethno-state / anti or pro-Hitler message doesn't mean that he's not an ethno-state supporter or an anti-Semite,
One of the most powerful black men, one of the wealthiest and most famous. But a lot of people were saying on the right specifically, don't platform them. And I said, well, I want to understand what they're thinking, why they're thinking it. They're involved in what may be the biggest news story of the past week, and we have an opportunity to sit down and talk.
Because the red media controls both sides. I just said it as simple as possible. Jared Kushner was next to Trump. Ron Emanuel was next to Obama.
But see,
since 1940, go ahead.
I was going to say, isn't that an issue of these individuals? Like you're extrapolating.
I'm going to order with the last of my money that's available in a different account. I'm going to order a PJ before I sit and have.
What is a PJ? I don't know what that is. Order a PJ? Does anybody like know what he's talking about here?
Another Lex Friedman setup conversation when I'm literally they're trying to put me.
Okay, from my understanding, Lex Friedman is a Jewish person, and he invited Kanye on to discuss the problems. I think Friedman is kind of a little bit to the right. He's kind of center right, if I'm remembering correctly. Well, anyway, he asked questions that were a little, I don't know, they weren't like softballs, but they weren't like hardballs either, And Kanye feels like it was the Jewish media setting him up all over again. Like, this guy, seriously, these are paranoid delusions that this guy is experiencing right now. And he is doing untold amounts of damage to society while experiencing these paranoid delusions. Honestly, even if it is mental illness, I don't think it's entirely mental illness. It's like the cause of all of this. But even if it were, I'm blaming Kanye West for not taking his medicine. He is still to blame. There's no excuse in the book that would justify this behavior. None.
In jail for my opinion.
But
I'm not,
get that.
I'm not going to have
Oh, hang on. Let me step back and listen to this one more time.
and set up conversation when I'm literally they're trying to put me in jail for my opinion.
No, they're trying to put you in jail because you didn't pay taxes. Because you owe $50 million in taxes. But once again, he's the victim. He is literally victimizing society by not paying his taxes. He is trying to get away with something that no one else would be allowed to get away with. Tax evasion. How many years worth of taxes does he owe? Before they put you in jail for something like that, you got to not pay taxes for like 10 years or something like that. He took advantage of everybody around him and is now blaming the Jews when he is being held accountable for that. This is the definition of privilege. It doesn't get more privileged than this. He has no clue what it's like to suffer, seemingly. And if he ever did suffer a day in his life, maybe he did. He doesn't remember it at this point. He has no idea what it's like to live outside of privilege anymore. It's disgusting.
I'm not going to have that opinion. I don't care about people. Those are bots that are trying to tell you. We realize, look at Pence. He sold Trump out. You know what I'm saying? It's like I would have never wanted to do anything that hurt Trump. I'm on Trump's side. Trump said things that hurt me. He lied about me, but I mean, he's known for lying. And when people used to tell me that,
why is he like forgiving Donald Trump for being a complete D-bag to him? Why give him a pass?
He's a liar. It's like, I went into the trenches for Trump. That's another conversation. There was no one in my position that wore that hat. And all of my surroundings exhausted me. It was like death by 1,000 questions. I know I'm jumping to another thing. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I know you got a rep for your people online, but it's you got a person in real life that I'm not with it, bro. I lost the money for the freedom of speech. And that's what makes.
No, you have freedom of speech. You are perfectly free to say anything you want. But if you're going to spread conspiracy theories about people and hate and divisiveness and accuse people of things and talk about things intentionally that are going to get people hurt, anti-Semitic hate crimes are up 149% in New York City over the past month. He knew this is what was going to happen as a direct result of what he did. You're going to face consequences when you do something like that. I don't believe he should be put in prison for his opinion. That is actual freedom of speech right there. Not being jailed for your opinion. He doesn't need to go to jail for it. But that doesn't mean that you are free from consequences. I'm using my free speech by not supporting you, by buying albums from you or whatever else. I'm voting with my dollars by not purchasing his albums, listening to his streams, whatever other thing. He doesn't have a concept of what free speech is, seemingly.
The only American that we know that really deserves to run the country, because everyone else, your boy DeSantis, Trump, whoever they raise in a petri dish over on the Democrat side, is going to play the game.
Look,
and,
he thinks that because he was canceled for talking about how evil Jewish people are, he's the only one that deserves to run the country. Wow.
That's what I was trying to get to. You went right into the anti-Semite thing. I think it's something that should be talked about, but if you start bringing this up, you're going to ask my opinion on it. I'm going to disagree with you.
I didn't ask your opinion on it.
I didn't ask your... As he says this on Tim Pool's show, I didn't ask your opinion on it. If I were Tim Pool, I would have lost my shit on him at that point. He very obviously did ask his opinion on it because he's on his show. He is at his mercy. Why doesn't Kanye get on his own podcast if he really wanted to talk unrebutted? Oh, he doesn't have one. Right. He has to rely on other people's podcasts and other people's goodwill to spread his hate. Right. So he's going to have to accept that some people are going to give him their opinions, if that's the case.
Jump into it.
But
I don't care about your opinion. I like your opinion on how we win an election, but I don't care about anybody's opinion, bro.
Dude, I would have lost my shit on him at that point, honestly. I don't care how big of a star he is.
They tried to put me in jail. They blocked two
They tried to put him in jail.
$1 billion. I had, like what I told Farrakhan, I said, look, is it anti-Semitic for me to say his name out loud? Like,
no, you can talk about Louis Farrakhan, but he is an anti-Semite who's said all the same stuff that Kanye has said, interestingly enough. He has also said that current Jews are imposters and that they're evil and that they run the world and the big banks and the media and that Hitler was fantastic and all of that stuff. All of that same disgusting, evil garbage that has led to a spike in anti-Semitic hate crimes in New York City over the past month. He says all the same stuff. He's the leader of the Nation of Islam in America. The Nation of Islam is not Islam. It's a weird little cult that isn't even really connected to Islam. They're completely different. It's kind of an offshoot cult from Christianity and Islam. They have weird beliefs about, whatever. Anyways, Malcolm X was actually a member of Nation of Islam up until the last year that he was alive. He was assassinated a year after leaving. Not that they're necessarily connected to each other. His assassination and his, leaving the Nation of Islam, I don't know that they are. I was just saying there's no reason to draw that conclusion unless you research it. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, let's keep listening.
The minister.
Yeah, the minister. I told
that's what they call Farrakhan, the minister.
Met with him too.
Oh, he was. Yeah, I mean, the Jewish people allowed Obama to meet with the minister.
Louis Farrakhan is basically like Scientology for the black community. Takes advantage of people in the exact same way. Absolutely terrible. I haven't talked about the Nation of Islam, but I do have an old video about the black Israelites on my channel. I haven't talked about them in years.
So Farrakhan said, well, did he have the money? The contract for the next 4 years, if I hadn't done anything, would have been $500 million a year for 4 years. What I was fighting for was the IP, so my children could, I'm sorry, sometimes I think about 7 thoughts at one time. Because anything I see, I come up with 7 answers to it and then just choose what it is. But the thing is when I...
Okay, these are all classic signs of various different mental conditions.
My children, the reason why my brain kind of blocked, because it's like God is saying, your children are going to be okay. Baby mama's got money, right? God is using me. He's breaking me down, removing all of the, richest person, all of this, so I can serve him. And the more and more those things are taken away from me, the more I can be empty and be a vessel and be able to be used. And right now,
if he had used dog whistles and veiled language the way that Nick Fuentes commonly does, instead of coming out and saying, I love Hitler, he could have converted a lot more people to his side. He didn't even have to lose any money. He could have said this in such a way that nobody would have canceled any deals with him or anything, and he still could have communicated the message. He's just an idiot. That's what it boils down to. I don't insult people. Honestly, I don't even feel like this is an insult. I don't intend it as an insult. He's just not... The way that he's doing this is very unintelligent. And now he's screaming about being persecuted, too, because of his own stupidity.
It's like, you're not going to take... If we can't, you're not going to take my pain away, right? The Jewish people say, it's the Holocaust, this happened, and you can't say anything about it. We can't take their pain away. No one's going to denounce the fact that they tried to lock me up. That's what, because every time I'm just holding.
That was because he didn't pay his taxes. That's very different. He didn't pay his taxes, and they are now threatening to put him in jail for tax evasion. Not for his beliefs, not for the things he said, not for any of that stuff. Because he didn't pay taxes. If he paid taxes, this wouldn't be a problem. But go ahead and keep acting like a victim.
stride, and it's like I thought I was more Malcolm X, but I find out I'm more MLK because as I'm getting hosed down every day by the press.
Okay, there's an interesting, like, I don't know, difference that's drawn between the two of those two people, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. Malcolm X was a member of the Nation of Islam, like I said, extremely anti-Semitic group, extremely, the leader at the time was not Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan is super anti-Semitic, but anyways, Nation of Islam has some deeply anti-Semitic views either way. But Martin Luther King Jr. believed in doing things peacefully. He learned his peaceful strategies from the Jains. And he was ultimately the one that came out of it with a good reputation and actually succeeded in accomplishing his goals, right? So you should want to be like Martin Luther King Jr. You should desire to follow in his footsteps. Malcolm X was an extremist and absolutely terrible. He actually had some interesting ideas, Malcolm X did, but he was an extremist. Nobody should want to be like him. He should not be respected the way that he is, Malcolm X. He was terrible. Intelligent, but terrible in almost every way.
And financially, I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a dog was biting my arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost. But I still walked in stride.
Poor Kanye. Before, he had $2 billion in the bank. Now he has $400 million in the bank. Poor guy, huh? Wow. So mistreated. So much money, yet so mistreated. Gotta shed a tear for him, right?
Yeah. I think they've been extremely unfair to you.
Who is they, though? We can't say who they is.
Nobody's been unfair to Kanye, okay? Kanye is one of the richest people alive. No one's been unfair to him. I don't want to hear it. Certainly not the Jews. I'm so sick of hearing this. He's been treated so terribly. Oh, the poor guy. No. He said something really messed up and deservedly had deals yanked. He knew what was going to happen. No one treated him unfairly. When you say you love Hitler, there is no unfair treatment up until violence gets involved. There is no, like, it's not unfair to yank deals. It's not unfair to fire you from a job when that job doesn't want to be, like, associated with you anymore. It's not unfair to treat somebody a certain way if they come out and say, I love Hitler, up to putting them in jail. I don't believe in that. And I also don't believe in physical violence against people. Any other thing is pretty much justified when they go as far as to say they love Hitler, in my opinion.
Press. I'm not using the. I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking
It is
about
them, though.
Oh, let me just step back because I want to get some context for that. I'm going to get out of here in a minute, but I just wanted to finish up to the point where Kanye, walks off. Keep listening.
Arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost. But I still walked in stride through it. Yeah.
I think they've been extremely unfair to you. I think.
Who is they, though? We can't say who they is,
corporate
can we?
press. I'm not using the. I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking
It is
about
them, though, isn't it? I mean, because and because when you think about it,
Did you catch? It was hard to hear, but he said, it is them, though, isn't it? And then Tim Pool said, no, it's not. And now...
consider it. In 2018...
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about... You leaving?
Dude just stands up and walks right out, like right off the set or whatever.
Are you afraid of the press?
He's gone. I'll say it right now. You guys want to bring that stuff up? And then
Have
think
the
we're not gonna
discussion.
not gonna have a
Like,
conversation?
have the discussion.
Like you think he's going to come in here and say, here...
This was Kanye's opportunity to spread his ideas to an audience that wouldn't have heard them otherwise. Tim Pool was setting him up for this. Tim Pool was giving him the opportunity to spread his bad ideas around. Kanye walking off set like this is probably the stupidest thing he could have possibly done. This is how conversations are had. This is how hearts and minds are won, by having these conversations, by hearing this pushback. There are people in the audience that disagree with what Kanye was saying. And Tim Pool was acting as their voice. Well, I disagree. And giving Kanye an opportunity to respond to that disagreement. He was literally setting him up and giving him the chance to spread his anti-Semitism even further. And what does Kanye do? He walks off set. Now, earlier I said, I mentioned a line that Tim Pool said that I believe is the reason why Kanye stood up and walked out. Tim Pool said a lot of people said I shouldn't platform you, people on the right. And then just, I think a minute or two later, or a minute or two before, I don't remember, Kanye talked about maybe standing up and walking out. The reason why I think Kanye walked out is because he thinks that the Jews got to him. He had the Jews have some line to Tim Pool, some blackmail, some control over him. And Kanye didn't want to have that held over his head or something. The guy's sick. Not that that's an excuse. It's not. I blame him for not taking his medicine. But he is sick. Very clearly.
Here's my pain. Here's my suffering. I'm going to say, I hear you. And then he's going to say, and it was Jewish people. And I'm going to be like, okay, but don't you consider... So I'm not going to do this. I refuse.
Go, make sure he's cool.
All right, go for it. Luke and I will have a conversation. So I can't say I'm surprised.
So Tim Pool spends the next, I don't know what, hour and a half talking about, that he felt he did the right thing. And I feel like he did the right thing too. He pushed back against Kanye. It was the lightest touch that he offered. But he did. He pushed back against him. So you got to give him props for that. But here's where it gets really interesting. You should see Tim Pool's comment section. Hang on. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Just going to take a quick gander through. 1 second. One second. Let's see if we can find the actual video, because I downloaded that onto my computer and was watching it. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? That's an old one. This is the one. 7 days ago. Streamed 7 days ago. Let's just take a quick look through the comments, shall we? Hold on. I just want to see what people have been saying. The only thing that would have made this better is if Ye grabbed Tim's beanie when he walked out. That's funny. We've seen what's under the beanie. He's bald. Or balding, at least. Let's see. Great gatekeeping, guys. You must be proud of yourselves. What does that mean? Who wants to listen to Tim talk with his milquetoast opinion? God, milktoast. It's actually a word. It's a single word. milquetoast is how it's spelled. It's not milquetoast like that. That's why he had to bring Luke on his show to co-host, and he's pretty kosher, lol. Ye said he didn't want this to be another Lex Friedman moment. He didn't want Tim's opinion. Tim kept pushing this, and he was going to leave, and then he left. So they're blaming Tim for pushing Kanye, basically. Tim, I believe race plays a huge role in a lot of things. Kanye, the Jews effed me over. Tim, hey now, let's not generalize. See, it's a lot of defense of Kanye here. Full-blown Nazi. It's Nazi defenders is what we're reading. Crazy eyes, crazy hands, entertainment. Okay, I don't know what that means. Tim blew the interview by judging Kanye. Own it, Tim. Anyone else go from totally stoked about this podcast to sheer and utter disappointment in mere moments? Jesus, dude. This video brought me to seeing this show for the first time. Tim seems as though he's doing exactly what mainstream media is doing to Ye. Tim strays away from the uncomfortable possibility that he could be wrong, and Ye doesn't care at all and saw right through it. See, it's all Kanye defense. This seems like the bright future of the turning of the tide. Can't believe this garbage show has a fan base of some kind. Salute to Ye. Keep spreading the truth. So it's a lot of people that are spreading anti-Semitism, supporting Kanye, hating on Tim Pool for giving the most basic pushback. The lightest touch. There's one more thing I want to look at. And that is, this one's going to be interesting, the Kanye subreddit. Without looking, all right, hang on. Okay, nobody rewind a few seconds. Without looking at this screen, take a guess at what is in this subreddit. Has it turned full-blown anti-Semite, or is it anti-Kanye? Anti-Semite or anti-Kanye? Let me know in the comments below what you think. The answer is, drumroll please, it is now a Holocaust memorial and a pro-Taylor Swift subreddit. Reddit has turned r/Kanye into r/anti-Kanye, basically. Kanye tells Jews to forgive Hitler and let it go. Yeah, he's been doing the whole interview circuit. It's been absolutely crazy. Kanye's 2023 concert tour. It's a bunch of Nazis marching. Oh, my God. 2 African-American GIs pose at Easter time with personalized infantry shells. World War II, 1940s. Some of this stuff is really, really beautiful, what they show on here. This is not love speech. This is pure hatred and evil. This is the shit that Kanye says people need to get over. I'm not going to show this one, but I know what it is. It's one of the mass graves that the Nazis created in World War II. This is Kanye's, dead serious, this is Kanye's new design right here. It is a Star of David with a swastika in the middle. No fucking joke, dude. You cannot make this shit up. You can't. Oh, here. This is another good example. This is them blowing up the thing. I think April 22, 1945, when we won the World War II. Jews should work for Christians. I'll hire a Jewish person in a second if I knew they weren't a spy and I could look through their phone and follow through their house and have a camera in their living room. He really said that in an interview recently. Seriously, he did. So anyways, yeah, things are getting crazy. If you want to see more about this stuff, I released 2 videos about it on my Unfiltered channel. And there's another video that releases in 2 days, early December. So you may, if you're watching this after December 8th, then it's already out on my main channel, so check that out. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, because honestly, this is as crazy as it gets to me. This is absolutely unhinged stuff. So yeah, tell me what you think. Let me know if you want to see more stuff like this. All right, guys. Oh, yeah, I have super chats and stuff. Let's see. Did you hear Milo got fired from Kanye's presidential campaign? He can't even get love from Kanye. I did hear about that. That is really interesting news. I think that people were, too suspicious of Milo and believed that he set out to, sabotage the Trump campaign, basically. And they, that distrust was permeating through everything. And Kanye realized that even though he may like the guy and think he has fantastic ideas, which is bizarre in its own right, he still can't just have him around because everyone will be suspicious of him all the time. Anyway, yeah, thanks for the super chat. That was really interesting. Kanye just says this because he hates Pete Davidson. Oh, yeah, Pete Davidson's mom is Jewish or something, right? Or dad? One of his family members is, I think. Yeah, that could be. That could be. Maybe it does all stem back to Pete Davidson. He's got an unhealthy obsession with the dude, honestly. Primal, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. And Humorous, welcome. Don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but only white people can be racist in the first place. No one else has the capability to be racist, so I truly don't understand why that word is thrown around so much. I totally disagree. There are feelings not hurt. I appreciate the super chat. But I just don't think that's the case. When I was in Florida, I lived in Tampa for a while, and I was in a neighborhood that was not the best. And one of my neighbors I had a white neighbor, a fellow white neighbor, and there was a black guy that brought his daughter out to my neighbor's house, picketing his house with signs, walking around saying, "We don't want you here, get out, whitey," and things like that. That was racism. Now, did it hit as hard as the racism that the black community experiences? Absolutely not. Not even close. But it was still racism. And that's just one example. There are many examples. Also, Jews are traditionally considered to be white. So there's that. But anyways, yeah, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Janoli 1978. At the risk of being ableist, I think Kanye needs a strong personal handler or life coach. Give him an effective combination of drugs, he would recover eventually. Yeah, I agree. There's no chance of Kanye ever accepting that, though. It's not happening. His deepest fear is taking medicine at this point, unfortunately. So we're going to get to deal with this Kanye till the end of time, in my opinion. It's very difficult to talk somebody out of their beliefs when they are this deep in it. So I think we're stuck with this forever, honestly. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. Keep up the great work. Love you, Owen. Well, thank you so much, Vintage Commercials. Glad you're here. Linda Blanton. Awesome sticker. Thank you so much. Good karma requires no gods, etc. Absolutely. Hard agree on that one. Religious delusions and mental health issues are common. Yeah, that's true. I talk about, like, people living in delusional fantasy lands a lot, particularly a lot of the religious people I talk about. But when I'm talking about Kanye, this is real delusion. And there is a distinct difference between evangelical nutcases saying absolutely unhinged, confusing stuff. There's a difference between that, them believing Jesus will be back any 5 minutes now or whatever, and what Kanye is experiencing. The difference, in my opinion, I think the difference is what Kanye is experiencing cannot be talked out of. It's a brain state, a chemical mix in his brain that can't be fixed without medicine, basically, without correcting the chemical imbalance. Evangelicals believe these things because they've been brainwashed into it, by and large. That can be corrected without medicine. That's really the difference. And I shouldn't be using the word delusion unless it refers to, like, the brain state problem. It's just that they're indistinguishable from each other. They look exactly the same. A brain state problem like Kanye has, and evangelical bizarre beliefs. They look exactly the same. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about it in the comments. Should I not use the word delusion unless it's an actual medical, like a reference to an actual medical thing? Or is it acceptable if that's just what it looks like? Let me know. Kanye ate at my favorite hibachi place in my hometown during all this to see a far-right podcast guy, and now the restaurant feels violated. Yeah, I can't blame you for feeling that way. That really sucks. He is completely gone. This dude is completely gone. And oh my God, is it disturbing to see. But anyway, yeah. Again, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. I'm fascinated by it and deeply disturbed and disappointed. And particularly because I see antisemitism on the rise in my city. I'm in New York City. I see a 149% increase in anti-Semitic hate crimes right now because of what Kanye is doing here, where I live. It's deeply disappointing. But, this is very much like a cult mindset that he's found himself in, and I feel compelled to cover it, if for no other reason than that. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. And again, thank you guys for coming, hanging out. It's been fun. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning, hopefully, on my Telltale Unfiltered channel. I'm going to be covering more of this stuff. So meet me there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next week, okay? All right, have a good night, everybody. If you like what I do and you want to make sure I can continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, you can support me on Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. I sell all kinds of shirts and stickers and stuff on there. Second, you can support me by checking out my Etsy store. I sell 3D printed stands for every system, from the original Nintendo to the Xbox One. And finally, if you want to support me in other ways, you can check me out on my other channels. I have the podcast channel, which is where I talk about whatever's on my mind. Politics, social issues, whatever. You can also find it everywhere podcasts can be found. Or you can check out the videos on my main channel where I focus on destructive cults. As it is with most channels these days, I rely on the support of viewers like you to keep my channel alive, so sharing my work is extremely helpful. Anyways, check me out in all those places if you haven't already. Thanks for listening, guys.